Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Monday. Gerald here with your weather forecast. Hope we all had a wonderful weekend and are having an amazing start to our Monday. Because, personally, I've seen a lot of people that have not really had a great Monday. It seems like every corner I take, there's some new obstacle that everyone around me appears to be facing. So hopefully your Monday's going better than a lot of the people I've talked to today. But if it isn't, I promise you it'll definitely get better. As I like to say, that's part of life. You have the good, you have the bad, and you kind of just got to mix them together and make the best you can out of it. But with all that said, let's actually talk about some weather. We do have a pretty big pattern change incoming this week with some more spring-like weather on the way for a lot of us, but that does come with the cost of some severe storms and flooding potential for many of us across the lower 48 and more specifically east of the Rockies here. So before we do get into the weather, I do want to mention something starting off. If you're looking for some kind of way to support me, because I've been doing this YouTube thing for really about 3 or 4 months now, and as I'm sure you can imagine, it does take a lot of time and resources that I probably should be putting towards other things in life. I did want to mention this, though. I do sell photo prints, so if this is something you think you're interested in, definitely consider looking at that. I have a lot of different kind of photos I've taken, and this is something I love to do in my free time. So if any of these look kind of appealing to you, or you think that's something you might be interested in, and if not, of course, don't feel pressured, but this is a great way to support me and my education as I continue to study the meteorology field. But if you are looking for how to get here, the link for this is actually in the cover photo here. It's this kind of grayed out dot, but I'll also put the link for that in the description of today's video. So definitely check that out if you are interested in that. But again, don't feel pressured at all. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and actually start talking about the weather here. And looking at radar, we've had a beautiful day really across much of the east, although a tad chilly for March standards for sure. With the spring equinox coming in today, it's definitely been probably chillier than you might expect for the first day of spring. But nonetheless, it has at least been nice and sunny out there, and you see that on satellite as well. We do have this kind of low pressure spinning off the southeast coast, and this is what we talked about. Could have actually produced some snow in parts of the Carolinas with this cold air that I'm sure you felt in place today. But, the timing, much like this winter, just didn't work out. And this is just going to kind of scoot away offshore. Although I will say we did actually have some flurries out into southwestern North Carolina today, or southeastern rather, sorry. It kind of did end up producing a little bit of snow, but nothing really of note to really talk about. Other than that, all my words are getting mixed around today, but we do have some showers and storms and cloudiness out into the Rockies today, and that is eventually going to lead to our next big storm system that impacts the kind of middle part of the country. So looking at those hazards, again, all those showers and storms out west are leading to plenty of winter storm warnings up into those higher elevations of Nevada, depending on, I guess, how you want to pronounce that, as well as Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, and then definitely out into California as well, where the Sierra Nevadas have just been getting slammed really all winter long, and that trend looks to continue for the next couple of days. Other than that, another cold night in the southeast tonight, so protect those crops if you have any of them planted throughout much of the southeast, but more specifically in this kind of blue shaded area on the map where we have started planting season for a lot of different crops out there. Looking at tonight's low temperatures, again, pretty cold in the east, but this should be really the last super cold night before we begin to kind of moderate those temperatures. Other than that, kind of just find where you live on the map and you can see what you can expect tonight for your low temperature. And then going into tomorrow's high temperature, we do rebound quite nicely, especially out here into the southern plains where we get some of that warm air advected northward. That's going to really help to bring those temperatures up. And then much more spring-like weather throughout the southeast with more widespread 60s and 70s for those of us in the southeast and even into the mid-Atlantic as well as the Ohio and Tennessee River Valley. So again, just kind of find where you live on the map and you can see what to expect for your high temperature tomorrow. So, taking a look now at radar here and what we can expect this week. Again, tomorrow, I'll show you tomorrow's kind of projected radar for tomorrow afternoon. Pretty nice day tomorrow east of the Mississippi, again with those more spring-like temperatures, but we will have cooler, cloudier, rainier weather here, kind of along the St. Louis metro area and kind of surrounding areas where we could see some showers. Also, maybe some snow up here into the Dakotas tomorrow, but Other than that, the other big story is this big storm system barreling into California, and that will eventually work its way out into the plains and cause some of that severe weather that we're going to talk about. Going into later tomorrow night, you can see those rain chances and those showers continue here across the middle part of the country, from St. Louis down to Nashville, back over to Memphis, Louisville, Chicago. And while that's ongoing, still going to get this storm system out west to continue to mature tomorrow night before then finally getting into Wednesday afternoon. And Wednesday afternoon looks to be much nicer for many of us. If I had to pick a day that I'd say is the nicest across the country over the next couple, it's definitely going to be Wednesday. As you can see, much nicer weather. And with this high pressure offshore, that is going to help to pump in that warmer springtime weather. So definitely higher temperatures Wednesday before finally getting into Thursday. That next big system begins to unfold, and with it we run the risk of some severe storms here in the south, as well as a whole lot of rain. I'll bring this back a little bit. A whole lot of rain working through the Ohio River Valley and into the northeast as well on Thursday, with maybe some snow as well up there into northern sections of Maine out of this storm system on Thursday. But the bigger story is definitely going to be the flooding potential and severe storm potential here into the southern plains, and that continues going into Friday as well, where that severe weather potential then shifts over here more into Dixie Alley, and that flooding potential really just hugging right along the Ohio River for much of the second half of this work week. And then finally we get into Friday night and into, we'll start with Friday night here. That line of storms continues to push through the southeast on Friday night, likely working through Birmingham, Atlanta, and then later into Friday night through the Greenville, Spartanburg, and Charlotte area. And while that's going on, once we get into Saturday, we look to have another pretty impactful storm up into the northeast that could produce some snow for some of us, but we'll talk more about that as we get a bit closer to this coming weekend. So we'll start with this severe weather threat. This is for Thursday. Again, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Fort Worth are the kind of big metropolitan areas under the gun here for that time period. Sorry, I had to turn my phone ringer off there. But that's whenever we'll likely have that threat on Thursday, again, through these areas of Oklahoma and Texas. And then as we get into Friday, again, that threat shifts over towards Dixie Alley from Nashville, Memphis, down here into southeastern Little Rock, much of Louisiana, really from New Orleans through Baton Rouge and Shreveport, and then again, much of the state of Mississippi as well, so Jackson, Mississippi, then up towards Huntsville, Alabama as well in that threat area for Friday. So showing you this, or one way to show you this is our supercell composite, which just kind of shows how well the ingredients are going to align for strong storms. And you can see as we get into, Thursdays, whenever you'll really see these colors begin to pop up. So now through Wednesday looks pretty good, but as we get into Thursday, you'll notice a pretty substantial increase in these chances of strong storms here for much of Texas and Oklahoma being under the gun. But I will let you know this kind of will wiggle back and forth, so this could kind of move around, but nonetheless, the main idea here is Texas and Oklahoma having the biggest chance of those strong storms on Thursday evening. And then as we get into Friday afternoon, you can see an even higher chance of that back here towards Louisiana, as well as up through kind of Jackson, Mississippi, and the Memphis area, having the higher chance of seeing those strong storms on Friday before we all clear out going into Saturday. Now, moving this eastbound a bit into the southeast, we'll move this map ahead in time, and you can see, again, Friday afternoon, we do get that flare-up back here into Louisiana, Mississippi, and into sections of Tennessee. But as we get into the overnight Friday, things calm down a bit, except for maybe along the Gulf Coast having a continual chance of those strong storms. But we'll definitely want to watch on Saturday for maybe another flare-up here along the Carolina and Georgia coastline, where we may still have some of those ingredients left over for some strong storms on Saturday before things really clear out going into Sunday. So, talking about the rainfall and the flooding potential, again, we're going to have a big area here along the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys of some big-time rain, so 2 to 4 inches looking pretty likely here throughout this week, especially places like St. Louis, Louisville, Paducah, Kentucky, Nashville, and then it gets a bit lesser as you go over towards the Knoxville area, Atlanta, and then once you get into the Carolinas, those totals really go down thanks to that high pressure helping to kind of block some of that precipitation, as well as the low pressures just getting so far north that they lose some of that forcing, and you lose those precipitation chances there into the Carolinas. by the time all of this is said and done. Snowfall wise, during the first half of the week, I think the best chance of snow is going to be up here into the Dakotas, and then, of course, out here into the mountains out west. I'm sure, as you guys know, out there, you've just been continuing to get whacked, and that will continue this week. And then going later into this weekend, we have, again, a question mark up here into the northeast for maybe the potential of some kind of storm signal there that could bring some springtime snow for some of us. The other big story, though, of course, are these temperatures. So we'll bring this into tomorrow afternoon. Again, pretty cold day here into the St. Louis area just because of that rain, and that will likely extend all the way down to Little Rock. But for much of us here into the east, a pretty average March day with, you can see, overall not quite trend one way or the other in temperatures. So just kind of an average day for late March standards. But as we get into Wednesday afternoon, you can see we'll get a pretty big warm up as that southerly flow really works in. But those of us that do see some rain showers Wednesday afternoon will again get those lower temperatures just because of the clouds and precipitation. But then as we get into Thursday afternoon, really much warmer across the entire southeast, and we're getting into definitely that springtime pattern. And that looks to continue through much of this work week before another slight cool down this weekend. And then as we go further out into the long range, I think that southeast ridge here comes back into play and really tries to dominate the pattern, I think, throughout the remainder of March and into April. So with all that said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely consider hitting that like button. And if you haven't already subscribed, consider doing that as well. But hope you all have a great rest of your Monday, and I will see you all tomorrow.